All right. Welcome to the conversation room. Here I'm your host, Mr. Charles Dixon, here with my co-host here, Mr. Adam Ford. How are you, sir?
Good. What's up, fam? How y'all doing today?
All right, man. Hey, this is I want to put a disclaimer out there before we go forward, right? And
Yeah.
that disclaimer is although we preface the title the way we did, we're talking about mental health. I mean, we're not mental health. We're talking about crazy and so on and so forth. I
hmm
don't want in no way, shape, or form to get it misconstrued as if we are heckling mental health.
No, not
We're
at all.
talking about we are primarily dealing with the all aspects of attitude and how it affects our day-to-day relationships and so on and so forth. So to
Yeah.
get that out the way, I don't want Facebook taking my page down. But anyway,
Right.
on
Exactly.
that note, yes, on that note, today we are going to deal with the topic, the altitude of attitude. Is crazy, or is crazy triggered? Mr.
Mm.
Ford, when it comes, before I dive into this, I'm going to
No,
start
no,
preaching.
no, no,
Oh, you don't want
no. I
that?
mean, I
All
need
right.
you to lay the
Okay.
groundwork. I need you to lay
All
the
right.
groundwork.
So, first things first, from my perspective, I think attitude, and when I'm saying attitude, I want the ladies and gents to understand attitude is two-sided. It's not just a mean woman, it's mean men. You understand what I'm saying? So it's a
Not
two
just angry.
dualities.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
we're
Not just
talking about
angry
it.
black man, angry black.
Yes,
Everybody
yeah,
involved.
we're talking about both sides. I want to be fair there. But
Right.
I wanted to point out, I feel this topic was due some conversation because it is very it's become a very common thing to it's like instead of us looking at uh partners or people, either people you dated or people that you're in relationships with or even married to,
hmm
instead of us constantly giving passes to attitudes that we readily see, right, or
hmm
readily experience,
hmm
we just let it go and we don't say anything about it, and we don't challenge the person to do the work to deal with whatever the issue is that is the source of it.
Okay.
And like I always say, man, attitudes to me, attitudes govern the home. They set the mood for the relationship or marriage.
Yeah.
It's like it to be honest, it's like, not to go like you always say deeper, but to me, operating in a funky attitude is the equivalent of conjuring that spirit that you choose to operate in. You're
Okay.
conjuring it up when you're
Okay.
choosing to say I'm tapping into devil guy one or devil girl two. I'm choosing to turn up to this level because
All
I'm
right.
upset for whatever reason. It's a
Yeah.
choice. So that's what I'm trying to understand, trying to
Right.
make.
Right. Yeah.
And so the question begs to differ is when we see these attitudes or displays of anger, if you will, on display, are they legit attitudes? I mean, are they just kind of crazy because it's like legit crazy at the source? Or is it crazy? And I'm saying crazy, brawl, like a
Right.
colloquialism. Or are
Yeah.
we saying crazy as in you pushed me, you triggered this to get to this point? Because
Okay.
we've seen it on both sides. We've seen it where someone, maybe we don't comply a certain way or answer a certain question a certain way or do something, and a
Mhm.
person will just show you. uh Back in the day, showing our age, but there was a scary show called Sybil. It was a
Oh
girl
yeah.
named Sybil, and
Yeah. Yeah.
Sybil had these crazy multiple personalities. So
Right. Right.
sometimes it comes out and you're like, oh man, how did I get to this? And then there are the ones where, look, we can be honest. Sometimes we can be in relationships with people and we can mishandle them,
Yeah.
and sometimes purposefully. And
Yeah.
sometimes that will trigger a reaction out of the person. So we
Right.
can't call them crazy if we triggered the reaction. You know what I'm saying? So this
Right.
is
Right.
what we're trying to deal with. But I'm trying to get to this. I'm wanting to get on this because I feel like we are allowing attitudes to brew and regulate and run too much, and it's setting a nasty atmosphere. It's just like, it's bad. And so I feel like we have to flush these things out so we can talk about them, to get to a place to be like, look, how do we begin the work to get this stuff together? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I got exactly what you're saying. It's because you're stepping into, you got a new relationship, and you're stepping into it not knowing who the other person is or what they're about. And often the only way that you find out who that person is and what they're about is to get into a situation that will be that will try you, that will test you, that will push you, that will, just kind of mess with you. And that's, unfortunately, if you haven't already made full disclosure of your emotional disposition, that will be the thing that will put on full display how you operate or how you handle pressure, how you deal with difficulty. Because often, again, when we're first dating and we're first in a relationship with one another, like I've said, and we've all said this before because we all do it, we send our representative. Our representative can do no wrong. Our representative has the right makeup on, has the right suit on, has the right shoes on, says the right thing, and even at that point in time, has the right attitude. Yeah. So we don't know what this particular person that we don't know contains until you shake that person up real good.
Yeah. Like, wow.
Okay, shake it up real good.
Yeah.
And then pop that top to see what comes out of them. And again, I think a lot of times what we do is, it's not until we have been shaken up and our top has been popped that we see the explosion of who we really are. And that's the truth of the matter. And there's no denying that. What needs to happen is, as much as we can, as much as it lies within all of us when we enter into relationships, is first of all, we need to have an awareness of who we are. We need to have a mental awareness of who we are. We need to have an emotional awareness of who we are. We need to have a spiritual awareness of who we are. Let me go down even further. We need to have a physical awareness of who we are in terms of our health, because sometimes health issues can trigger bad attitudes. We also need to have a financial awareness of who we are. If we don't have this awareness in terms of us knowing consciously what's happening with us, I'm telling you, we are ticking time bombs. We are walking minefields that can be set off by anything at any point in time. It's not until you are aware of these things that you can even begin to address some of these issues.
Which brings me into my next shift.
Yeah.
Walking around. Do you hear an echo? I hear an echo. I don't know if it's something. You have two devices going on?
Yeah.
Oh, that's I don't know what that is. Anyway, so walking around, hearing, if you're walking around and you're carrying this attitude or this spirit with you, so to speak, I'm going to keep sticking to that.
Here we go.
It is almost like, you are, it starts to get to a point where we have to start looking at some of these things like from a form of abuse. And I say that because, to me, from my perspective, whatever you bring into the relationship, that if it's dysfunctional, if it's negative, if it's, whatever, if it causes duress on your partner, if you're inflicting it on your partner basically on purpose, it's like a form of abuse, regardless of what it could be. It's like, we bring in these climates of attitude and we expect people to reside in our mess.
Yeah,
this is who I am, and I'm not going to change. Reside in this. If you do well with me, we're good. If you don't, you get to meet Mr. or Mr. Doubtfire. You know what I'm saying? So it turns up. So my point is, that's dysfunctional and unrealistic. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? And so we have to get to a point where, number one, it's selfish. Number two, it is a controlling mechanism. Attitude is controlling, because if you could get somebody I remember for years knowing people on both sides of the spectrum, men and women, who were married to people who I physically saw. Like most of them were my coworkers, or some of them were close friends, where you would be in intimate spaces, like someone's dinner invited you over, or even if you out. And
Yeah.
I've literally watched spouses. Yeah, Fine 29 said that's manipulation. That sure
Yeah.
is abuse. And then so yeah, so the point is, I have seen people purposefully dance around their partners
Mhm.
in fear of the Jekyll popping out.
Right.
It's like, so this is how deep carrying an attitude goes, because it causes a person to shift who they are naturally to
Mhm.
appease you. And
Right.
that's like you said, that's manipulative,
Yeah.
controlling, all of
Yeah.
all of the things above. And so, we all have to check ourselves, because at any given time we can choose to operate in a spirit that can resemble all of those, right?
Yeah.
So we
Yeah.
have to stay checking ourselves, and to make sure, hey, is this a free climate, or is this one where something is at play here? Because in most cases, we know when the attitude is on the prowl, and when the attitude is governing the atmosphere.
Right.
And so, yeah.
Yeah, but you know what's also interesting about this, and particularly, I'm not an expert on abuse at all, so I don't want anybody to take this as gospel truth. But there is some there is a methodology, if you will, or a process by which you are taking control of that person, and they might not even recognize it at the beginning. The process is called conditioning. And basically, conditioning will have you, it doesn't pop up all of a sudden. It's not something that happens instantaneously. It's like that saying goes: if you want to, if you want to boil a frog, put them in a pot of just warm water, and slowly but surely begin to turn up the heat, so that gradually, you're ending up cooking that frog. Well, that's what happens a lot of times in our relationships. The person is in the relationship, things are going fine at the beginning, but then something happens to trigger the other person. And now they are doing things slowly, gradually, subtly, to get you to begin to accept how they operate, how they function, and how they behave, until the day comes that they recognize, I've been abused.
Oh,
But it's never anything that just pops up in your face. Manipulation is never something that's just overtly done. It's always subtly done. It's always deceptive. It's always, here comes my word, duplicitous. Okay. Always operating within the shadows in order to exploit the person that they're seeking to control. It's never just instantaneous. It never just pops up in your face. It's a gradual process. And I think a lot of us can attest to the fact that we have been in relationships where it started out good, started out fine, but slowly but surely that yeast began to get worked into the leaven, until the point we find ourselves imprisoned by manipulation and control, and couldn't figure out a way to get out.
Wow. And so, the frightening part about that, what you just described, is that's just the operating of the control, and that's not even with the attitude.
Right.
So when you add the attitude to that, that's a crazy concoction.
Yeah, well, the attitude is the thing that, it's the thing, like you said, either you accept it or you reject it. But this is the way I am. I'm not going to change. But the person who is skilled in this type of thing, the person who knows how to do this type of thing, understands, I can't just spring this on this other person. I can't just pop it on them, because if I spring it on them, they're going to run. I don't want them to run. I want them to get comfortable. I want them to stay. Here's the other sinister thing about this. And sinister is a good word. Here's the other diabolical, sinister thing about this. And that is the fact that the person who's doing the manipulation and the beguiling knows that they're wrong. And they're doing it in such a way it's so sneaky and so shadowy that the other person doesn't even realize what has happened to them, that they have been undermined and subverted, that by the time they realize it, it's too late.
Yeah. You're already taken, overtaken.
You know what I'm saying? The other person sent their representative. Like I said, they sent the sparkling clean, the nice person, the happy person. They sent the person with the good attitude or whatever like that. Come to find out, once you begin to dig a little deeper in terms of the character of that person, in terms of the pathology of the psychology of that person, when you begin to dig a little deeper, you begin to realize, oh crap.
Yeah, this is something deep.
Right. Who am I in bed with right now? Who is this person? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah. I mean, a word I was thinking when you were talking about basically converting the person, kind of like it's kind of a slow walk, is I used to look at the word, it's called finessing. It's you're finessing them because it's like the whole point is to put them to sleep, smooth it over, subtly give them instituting those little things that you want in place until you get them locked in, and then you administer the poison. You understand? So it's almost like when you watch those animal shows and when you see the science of how those snakes choke out their prey. It's like they subtly get them, grab them, and when it's like a whole process, and it's a slow kill. Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, but it's just like,
or like the king cobra. The king cobra uses a form of hypnotism to hypnotize prey so that they are paralyzed, so that they don't move, so that the king cobra can do what it wants to do to them. Here's the other crazy thing about this that I really want us to get. The manipulation and the control are so subtle in regards to the attitude of the person that's doing this, that they make the other person feel like this is normal, that it's supposed to be this way.
Wow.
That I'm supposed to be manipulated, that I'm supposed to be exploited. See, that's what abuse does to you. Abuse makes you feel like that it's normal. You're normalizing something that's abnormal. You're making it okay. And see, that's the danger of this thing, that we got people around that will literally manipulate a person to the point where they feel like, oh, I'm supposed to be hurt. You know what I'm saying? Oh, I'm supposed to be bending over backwards and doing all this crazy stuff that I can't financially afford to do. I can't emotionally afford to do. I can't mentally afford to do. You got me spending money that I don't have. And then making me think it's a normal thing to happen. Oh my God.
That's called when you're sucking the esteem and self-worth out. Again, back to the whole snake thing. It's all a breaking down process. Let me strip you down to this. If you ever notice, a lot of times we'll see people throughout life that once upon a time we may have saw them in a different esteem. Oh, that person is this. That's a strong brother or sister. And then you'll see them in a relationship, and you'll see how a relationship will transpose their whole disposition to the point where you like, is that Adam? Sure. You know, it just because the person has become a different version of themselves with this person because they have been finessed. You know what I'm saying? So Right.
Yeah. And that's why, whenever you're and that's the thing, that whenever you are entering into a new relationship, it is absolutely imperative that all of your antennas are up. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
All of your alert warnings are going off. And I'm looking for red flags. Okay. I'm not waiting for them to appear. I am literally looking for red flags to appear. And just so that you aren't taken advantage of, man. Because some people are so slick. Man, people are slick out here, man. Look, I'm not out in these streets, but they slick out in these streets. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And the sad thing is, you almost want to just get to the point, if people were on the market and you were out there looking, you almost just want to say, all right, listen, what's the play here? You know how sometimes when people are hitting a lick together, or it's some kind of thing they're trying to scam or whatever, they come together and say, all right, what's the play? Like, what is this? What do you want? How do you see me in this? But the problem is most people are going to say, oh, you're this, and of course, and I see you as that. But deep down inside, there's another play that they're really holding back from you.
Yeah.
And they only administer that play when they have you in a specific position to be able to absorb it.
Right.
And that's where the manipulation is when it's at its finest.
Yeah.
You know?
So let me flip this for a minute, because I know we don't go into the dark side, and we don't stay on the dark side. I want to flip it to the other side. And here's the thing, though. Okay, so if we are all honest, everybody that's listening, everybody that's watching this, if we are honest with ourselves, everybody got a little crazy in them.
For sure.
I'm talking to you. That the person that doesn't think, the person that doesn't think they have crazy in them, that's the one that got crazy.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Oh gosh.
That's what you need to watch out for. But come on, let's be honest. We all got a little crazy in us.
Yeah.
All of us, we're not as wrapped as tight as the next person. Absolutely. That's a given. You know what I'm saying? Because we living in this world, and sometimes to be able to live in this world, you got to be a little crazy in order to make it, in order to survive. Otherwise, the situations themselves will make you crazy. Guaranteed.
Sure.
They will make
you crazy.
They
for sure.
They will drive you mad. Here's the thing, though. Here's the thing. You have to be able, especially when you're in a relationship, you have to be able to say to the other person that you have in your life at that particular point in time, to say, hey, you know what? These are the things that trigger me. These are the things that make me crazy. As a matter of fact, what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you some of the crazy parts of who Adam is. And hopefully trust that you don't exploit my crazy to your advantage.
Okay.
These are conversations that have to be had. Now, I'm not saying on the first date, God, please, no. If you say it on the first date, they're going to go running out of the restaurant as fast as they can. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. But at some point in time, within the span of that relationship, there has to be a conversation. Hopefully, prayerfully, intentionally, deliberately, there has to be a conversation where we create a safe space for the both of us, where we can make full disclosure of who we are, or at least begin to make full disclosure of who we are. These are the things that I don't like. These are the things that make me upset. These are the things that make me cuss. These are the things that make me want to hurt somebody. Okay. Yeah. These are the conversations that must be had. But for whatever reasons, we're not being honest, not even just with the other person, but with ourselves.
Yeah.
And to be able to say, yeah, I'm a little crazy. I'm a little crazy. I got some stuff going on with me.
But you know what? I'm a little more inclined to be understanding if there's a present issue, more so than I am when, let's just be honest, in most cases, when we experience attitude or an extreme display of, some sort of crazy reaction, a lot of times it's bringing forth that little spoiled child in us.
Okay.
And we want our way, and it's like I call it a grown person pout. Right. So you're pouting as a grown person, and because somebody isn't doing something, didn't give you the answer, didn't give you the reaction, now it's, well, you ever seen, how you seen them children when they're small, sometimes there's that kid that's so spoiled, where when they get mad, you almost afraid to look at them. They're like a horror movie. They sit there with that whole look on their face like, God, you really are mad. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, this is, you took this all the way in. That's how we do as adults. When some of us, when we don't get our way, we throw a whole territorial tantrum. It's a whole fit. And it disrupts the entire relationship. I mean, here's
the thing though, Charles. Yeah. And I'm glad you just said that. I'm glad you just said that, because there was a couple of weeks ago that I threw a fit.
Oh wow, okay.
I had a fit. Now look, my fits ain't like everybody else's fit. I'm gonna tell you that right now. I'm not sitting here throwing chairs. I'm not sitting here bashing windows. I'm not trying to turn over nobody's table. No, my fit ain't like that. My fit is a quiet storm. Okay. I walk into the room and there's a cloud. There's a cloud there's a thundercloud with, you know, you can't even hear the lightning. It's just shh.
It's unspoken, but it's there.
Unspoken. It's unspoken.
Which is worse sometimes.
It is worse.
Yeah,
it is
worse. Yeah.
But here's the thing. Here's the thing that helps me. I have somebody in my life that understands me enough to know he having a fit right now. Let me go rub his back. Let me go rub his head. Baby, I know it didn't happen the way you wanted it to happen, but it's okay. You're okay. It's okay.
But here's the key.
Yeah.
Your person is experiencing that reaction within a safe space that you trust.
Absolutely.
Some people are newly dating people, are, you know, within a year. You know, let's just be honest. You can hide the crazy for a little bit. All you gotta do is have some dates planned, trips planned, love consistent, and the crazy can get hidden. It's only when somebody hears something they don't want to hear, you gave them the wrong response, you counsel something, you didn't commit to something. Now here comes the real monster, right? And so we have to say to ourselves, listen, I don't know about nobody else. Let me just say this for me. I have declared to myself that when I see the handwriting on the wall, I don't ignore it. I have been there and I have done that. I have ignored it because of my own selfish, I guess, my own gestures of why I wanted to tolerate or deal with a certain person or something. But trust me, there is a huge cost associated with ignoring the signs of something that's detrimental to you. You know what I'm saying? When you are with someone, and it doesn't take much at all. It's like a response, it's a reaction, it's an action that they do. And if you're paying attention, minus your desires, that's the key. Pay attention, minus your desires. The problem is we're so busy desiring, and while we're desiring, we're being attracted and all these things. Then we choose to give them a pass and overlook it. But that's the worst thing to do. When you see that thing that you know does not work for your life, you need to say, "Oh, I see," you know, and just kind of however your retreat process looks like, handle it. But promise you, when you tolerate it, it's almost like a person that may be into physical abuse, and we all know how this plays out. When someone something the first time, I'm sorry, let's go to eat. Here, take some flowers. I didn't mean to do that. You got me so upset. Make no mistake about it. It's not the first, and it won't be the last. You know what I'm saying? It's when it happens, wake up and realize it happens. And it may not be a physical reaction, but when you see that snapshot of that instability mentally, back out. You know what I'm saying? Because it's there, and we all know what works for us. And that's not to say that that person may not work for someone else. But to me, I feel like it's all about, can you control you? And most of us, instead of us doing the self-work behind the scene to deal with ourselves, we just come up with a viable excuse to continue keeping it. You know, we'll give you an excuse as to why this happened or where this is, and we leave it where it is as opposed to addressing it. And we try to make the person just deal with it as it is. You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Look, Fine 2029 said it's about 25 folk on the board of directors in her head. If we all get in agreement, woe to the one that caused the assembly.
Yes, I'm telling you. Yeah, I know.
Man. The thing of it is, we all have our levels of crazy, you know.
Yeah.
And just like you say, when you are able to recognize that crazy is a danger. That crazy is sitting outside your job waiting for you to get off.
Oh,
crazy has walked in behind you at a restaurant that you and your friends are at. That crazy goes up the church, sitting on the back row, waiting
scream
for
out loud while you in there. Yeah, I'm telling you.
Right. I don't want to deal with that. But here's the thing, though.
Yeah.
So my thing is this. Look. And I'm a staunch believer in this. Let's talk about this. Let's talk about because if I'm able to identify your crazy is crazy and have a conversation about it, we sit down and we have a full disclosure conversation about it. If you're willing, I'm willing to help. I'm willing to get you out of that extreme craziness to a lower level of craziness. We're not going to be able to get rid of all the craziness because some of that is it ain't
just
going
in there. Yeah,
you can't fast it away. You can't pray it away. You can't put enough oil on your head to get it away. It's there.
It's there. It's there. That's it. It's there.
You just need some. You just need to get with somebody who got enough anointing to deal.
To temper it.
But, right. Crazy.
But even more so, I think, because I mean, it's unrealistic in this day and time that we live to even think, even people that are legit single and hopeful, even for folks that are already married and connected to folks, to not think that people don't come or already have existing trauma.
Yeah.
I mean, think about it this way. This time that we live in, it's almost like you gotta look at people's trauma like this. Imagine all these relationships being the equivalent of a horrible car wreck, right? So imagine how you notice how we are when we see somebody in an accident. The first thing we say is everything okay? You need to go to a hospital? So imagine people walking out of the car, bleeding. You can see where they busted up and they look at you like, oh, no, I'm okay. I'm all right. And they walk down the street to the next car, next relationship. But they're bloody. They haven't been repaired. They haven't went to nobody's hospital, but all they know is I still desire love. So I'm going to keep on walking in my unrepaired self state. And this is what the world today looks like.
Wow.
People out here are broken, wounded, freshly lied to, freshly cheated on, freshly got somebody found out they got a spouse, somebody got a wife. I didn't know you was married. Oh, how did you do this? I didn't know you got this person pregnant. Oh, how did you do? You lied to me. You took my money. All sorts of things, accidents in love are occurring. And instead of people doing the work, that's why I push for the work. And I'm going to bring up the reason why I say that. But the work is so important to identify where you are in the wrong. Because as an administrator, you know for yourself, you say, look, something is going on with me. I don't do too well in this space. I need to perhaps maybe talk to somebody or look into getting some help, right? Or something. Yeah. Instead of just saying, forget about it. This is me. I'm handsome or I'm cute. They'll get over it. So now what you're doing is pouring your blood and your issues on that person who may have a clean white shirt. Right. You know what I'm saying? Right. So that's where we are.
Because now you're trying to normalize what is not normal. This is abnormal behavior at this point.
For sure.
You're trying to rationalize and justify what you do as, oh, it was supposed to happen like that, or it means to happen like that. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And when you get to that place, now we need to talk about therapy. We need to talk about professional counseling, because if you're crazy, it's something that is okay for you and normal for you, and it is detrimental to other people, and it's detrimental to yourself. Now we got a serious issue.
Yeah, we got to get to the source of it. We got to get to the source.
We do.
If you were the person that you trust, because people don't reveal the source to just anybody. You know, if you find yourself fortunate enough to be in a relationship where these abnormal behaviors are happening, but you kind of trust the person, then it's okay to talk about it. Like, you know, because some of this stuff is either from childhood traumas, relational trauma, physical abuse trauma. These attitudes just don't arise from anywhere. Sometimes it's people's upbringing. We didn't have the best upbringing. I had to take care of my brothers. My parents wasn't there. Whatever the case is, right? It's always a root to why this has grown to be, instead of a blossoming green beautiful tree, it's turned into a
Right.
stick of briar thorn. It's a reason for it, right? It should
Yeah.
be, it should be, it's like, look, let's talk about these things, because you just can't go through life banking on either who you are financially, what you look like physically, to be
Yeah.
your coverall to just snatch and grab whomever you want to at will, and it still work out. You understand what I'm saying? And
Right.
while you carrying
Yeah.
this attitude, that attitude thing for me, it's a I'm telling you, this is
everything.
yeah,
It's everything,
yeah,
because attitude determines, like you said, our altitude in terms of how
yeah.
high we're going to go in this relationship, whether or not this
That's it.
relationship is going to be successful or not. And
Yeah.
again, I want us to understand, as grown folk, we have to be aware of us and how
Yeah.
we do and how we function. You know, it's interesting, and I might have had this conversation with you. I know I had it with Pastor John, and I had it with my wife recently here, and
Okay.
it was a realization that I had to have about me, because I'm starting to recognize something new about me, or something different. Maybe because I'm getting older, you know, or what have you. And I started to realize I'm a little contrary. I'm contrary. I don't say yes easily like other people will say yes. You know what I'm saying? I'm a little reluctant when it comes to
I don't think that's new, but sure. Anyway, so I've known the Negro for 30 years. He's always been contrary. Maybe he looking in the mirror now, but I've always known the Negro to be contrary. Okay, all right.
So why ain't you say something then, man?
No, this is what I mean. No, listen. When I say contrary, you have been consistent as a friend on the outside looking in. You have consistently chosen your pills of choice. Like, a lot of people don't do that. A lot of people will go along to get along and deal with the consequences of what happens regardless. Okay, they're going to go in. Where I have seen on many occasions, I have brought up things to you and asked your opinion. Oh, that's not gonna be me. Oh no. Oh, nah. And I'll be like, well, dang. It's like, so you will immediately say, I'm standing over here on this rock. Y'all going to take a swim while I'm gonna stay right here. That's always been you.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
yeah.
Again,
I should have told you. All right, cool. All right.
Look, 53 years later. Oh, I'm contrary. I didn't know. I didn't know.
Right.
I wish you had told me. Shoot, God dog it.
Oh man.
My point in bringing that up is to have the tenacity, to have the fortitude within yourself to recognize your own deficiencies and your own inadequacies and your own stuff that ain't right.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Stop walking around here thinking that you are okay when you got a gaping head wound that's caused you all types of severe trauma that now you're not even functioning the way that you should function because you got a wound that you refuse to address.
You wounded. You wounded. Yeah.
You're literally standing outside of the hospital where they can actually treat you and help you. But for whatever reasons, you refuse to go in because you think you're okay. You think the way that you're behaving, you think your craziness and your stank attitude is the way that you should be.
Yeah.
No, sir. Yeah. No, ma'am. That's why nobody wants to come near you. And those who do come near you don't hang around because you got this issue that you refuse to address.
Yeah. I'm telling you, the spirit of crazy, it just, and I think I take this particular topic so serious because I've had many bouts with this, right? On different sides, I've had many bouts with this whole, it seems like I ask myself a lot of times, like sometimes when something keeps reoccurring or reappearing, you ask yourself, what is the big picture? Like, sometimes you'll be like, okay, God, what are you trying to show me or teach me in this? Like, is it patience? Is it this, whatever? Because when I think back throughout my life and when I may have dealt in different relationships, I can't even say crazy had a particular face or a particular style or background, because I've seen it in the professional woman. I've seen it in Shanika from around the block. I've seen it in, I've seen it in the different races. So I've seen it, it's like, so it's not necessarily stem from something, because in all of those scenarios I just pointed out, people can have a background that bring them to do this. Heck, listen, I remember one time, I can say this was funny. So one time when I was probably, maybe I was 23, 4, whatever. And I remember at the time I was dating someone. I probably shouldn't have been. This was probably a conflict of interest. But I was dating my boss.
Come on with that story.
At that time, I was dating my boss at this time, and so at that time, I noticed her throwing little subtle things at me that seemed like she was kind of wielding her power a little bit, but I wasn't having it. I would hear it, and then it go out one ear. And so next thing I know, so one day, because you got to realize, if she's your boss, it's difficult to really flex because she's your boss. But let's just say I heard you, but I wasn't listening. But make a long story short, I remember one time I got off of work, and this is when we was catching the metro. You know how we were. We was catching the metro train back and forth to our car.
Keep on going.
So I remember catching the metro train home to my house. And the person said they worked a little later. And so they said to me, "Hey, I'm working late. So where are you?" I said, "I went home." And this person said, she got quiet. And I was just like, "Yeah, what's up?" I'm like, in my mind, I'm already over you trying to control the situation anyway. So I'm like, "Okay, well, I'll talk to you later." She didn't say a word. Do you know that woman showed up at that time, which was my parents' house back then? Yeah, she showed up at my parents' house and knocked on the door and was like, "Is Charles in there?" Well, this is funny. It ain't funny, but it's funny. She said, "Is Charles in there?" Adam, I came to the door. I looked like I saw a ghost. I'm like, "What you doing over here at my people's house?" I had an apartment somewhere, but I'm like, "What are you doing over here?" So all she did, now just picture this. My arms were out like this. I was saying, "What are you doing?" Just like this. Do you know that woman said, boom, she took her nails and said, "Shh," and then walked away, got to her car. Then my sisters was trying to come. My sisters was all in the house. They were trying to get outside. But I was like, "No." But she just came. It was like a demon. She came on them steps and said, "Shh, shh," and walked to the car. I said, "What? Only me." I had these kind of stories to life. But man, let me tell you, that's it. But listen, here's the funny part about it. That's really a funny story compared to others. Believe me when I tell you, that's funny compared to some other things. But to make a long story short, the attitude thing has been something very familiar in my world. And so I've always been a conduit. I haven't talked much about it, but the reason that I tap into this topic the way I do is because I feel like we fail at a lot of potential great relationships because we don't do the work on those things that we know we have ailing us, keeping us from functioning properly. Like, so I give kudos to people who go to counseling, who go see help, because those things are needed, you know. And so on the flip side of it, and earlier when I was telling you how sometimes we have things that we deal with, and I look at those little elements of abuse as things that we bring to the relationship, our afflictions that we bring in that affect the other person purposefully. And the reason why I say it affects the person purposely, because you have the control to either do something about it to keep it from touching that person, or you selfishly allow it to bleed over. Perfect example. And this ain't no secret. Back when I used to, I'll be honest, I had my infidelity struggle, right? I had my infidelity struggle until I had to start looking at it like, hey, even your infidelity struggle is a form of abuse, because you're inflicting your weakness on someone else. And not only are you afflicting them, you're saying, "Okay, I'm dealing with this, but I need you just to wait. Hold on, though." The person like, "Wait, though. No, you've cut me with a knife. I know. Don't go to the doctor and tell, though. Just sit here." You understand what I'm saying? Mentally,
Yeah.
it's because in your mind, you know that you're struggling with something that you haven't dealt with.
Right.
But the selfish you, instead of getting the help, you want to keep the safety.
Yeah.
You know, that's the natural thing, is to keep it safe by saying, remain here while I deal with this. But
Yeah.
it's you know, but it was like an action item for me to say, look, I have to figure this out in a way that I can break this codependency spirit.
Right.
Because the codependency spirit, I had to trace it all the way to the end. And the codependency came from the former disappointments and the former hurts. So if you get hurt somewhere along the line at the hands of a woman, Bruce, I know Bruce will say, tell it, Saul. But anyway, no, look, if you ever get hurt at the hands of a woman, what that does to you is it changes your trajectory of how you deal. Now, you're a heterosexual man, so that doesn't change in your affections, but it certainly changes how you deal and how you trust.
Yeah.
And so as a result, I literally watch myself go from being the innocent church boy to the menace to society. I watch myself transition. And what I mean is, when that hurt came about, and it came about another time, I said, oh, this is how I compartmentalize it. I said, oh, I cannot be, so I don't, there is no praise in me being good.
Wow.
Just being honest. I said, there's no praise in me being good, then I'm just going to be something else.
Right.
And so what ended up happening is, I said, okay, I still love women. I still want to relate. I still want to be in a relationship. So what I'm going to do is, I'm going to date, but I'm going to date with many feathers of pillows surrounding my situation. So if I ever fall, I'm always comfortable. Oh, you fell, you left. Okay, I'm comfortable. I can lean over here on pillow F, G, Z, and whatever it took. It was in my mind. It was a codependency safety mechanism to keep from dealing with the blunt of the rejection or the hurt or whatever came with it. And so that went on for years until I had to say, listen, you know, break this dependency. And what I started doing to other people that I'm sure that I was dating during those times, it may have looked like I was becoming emotionally unavailable. And a lot of times I would explain and say, I tried to explain rather than say, no, that's not it. What I was really doing was breaking the fast.
Okay.
I was breaking the dependency. I separated myself on purpose and was to myself on purpose so that I can get used to being to myself in a healthy state again.
Right. Well,
because if I constantly,
it was a defense mechanism. You were protecting you.
Correct. And so I had to break that. I said, let me break that. I said, let me break that. And regardless of all, because when a man, it's sad, Adam, but when a man shows that he can operate in a singular and self-sufficient fashion, he's almost punished for it, because it makes it seem like, how are you able to be over there and I'm over here? And at that time, I always tell people, there comes a time when sometimes you have to let a man process and heal.
Yeah.
No matter how much you may want him, desire him, your husband or whatever, if he's not like for me, I love a good yellow cake, right? Chocolate ice and yellow cake. But I always look at it this way. If you want a good person, let that person come through the oven properly. Let them be baked through. If you don't, they're going to come out on the other side gooey, a mess. So you got to let people process the way that they process. And so for me, my way of processing was, for that moment, I had to break that tie. Those ties that kept me tied to ripping and running over here and feeling safe. I said, if I don't do this, I knew, Adam, I said, if I don't fix this now, I'll be a cheating husband.
Yeah.
That's what I knew. So I said, I'll sacrifice that today to be better then. So that's the way I had to approach it, to kind of to bring it to a healthy, a palatable place. Because this whole thing, when it gets to us, it's like men, we have a survival tactic about us. And that's why we're called many things. oh, you're a narcissist, or you're this, you're that. We're called these labels because
Mhm.
we're logical. The way we think sometimes it's not understanding to women. It's just, but to us, it's a survival mechanism.
It is.
We're
It
trying to
totally
protect
is.
ourselves and keep ourselves from being consumed. I know I
Right.
went on a rant.
No, but that was fine because
Yeah.
the reality is that often when we do get hurt, because we
Yeah.
don't know how to fix the hurt, we
Yeah.
jury rig something in order to deal with the hurt to keep it from
For
happening
sure.
again. But in
For sure.
reality, we haven't dealt with the real wound. We may have put
Yes.
a band-aid on it, but that band-aid
Yeah.
is not going to help heal that wound. The only thing that's going to help heal that real wound, that deep gash that you have in your
Yeah.
life, is some
Yeah.
ointment. You're going to need some
That's it.
antibiotics to fight
That's
the
it.
infection. You're going to need somebody
That's
to pay
it.
attention to make sure you don't catch a fever from the
Ooh.
infection that you got from your wound.
Yeah. Yeah.
But here's the
That's
thing,
good
though.
stuff.
Watch this. Watch this. If you're not willing to be vulnerable to
Yeah.
allow somebody to see the wound that you yourself cannot heal, then how do you get healed?
Mm.
You see what I'm saying? And often a
Yeah.
lot of what we do is we go from person to person to person to person to person to person to person, thinking
Yeah.
that if maybe perchance this person can heal the wound or that
Yeah.
person can heal the wound. But
Yeah.
we never really admit that we have a wound. So they don't
Yeah.
even know.
And if we're not careful, that is now you're making my precise point. That's how we go through life saying, if I could, we look at the people that we meet in front of us or as our potential spouse or woman or whatever you call it, or man. And if you're a woman, and then we say to ourselves, oh, this person is the antidote. And
Right.
the real antidote is you.
Yes.
All that we need is here to be tapped into and just reset. Sometimes we have to be man and woman enough to say, listen, I have ran amok long enough. I need to press the reset button on me and get back to a healthy place and not to a place that needs the opposite sex just to rely upon from a psychological position of feeling like you can't cope without those interactions, which is very unhealthy. You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
But you know what? Interesting. I want to bring this out because I want to make sure that I want to make sure that the people that go to Sunday school and Bible study on Wednesday night don't miss this point.
Okay.
Not even Jesus could heal the person at the pool until they had a willingness to be healed.
Yeah.
Y'all hear what I said? Not even Jesus could heal that person until they express a willingness to be healed. Pray all you want, fast all you want, in as many prayer lines as you want, get a whole vat of oil poured on them if you want. That will not heal you until you have a willingness to be healed. So I'm going to be willing to allow somebody in my space, allow myself to be vulnerable enough so that they can touch my wound, so that they can heal.
I'm telling you.
So that I can freely expose myself like Jesus did with the disciples when he was in that room before he ascended. He had to expose himself to let them know, yes, this did hurt. But look, if I can be whole and made whole, you can be made whole, but you have to be willing to be made whole.
Yeah. And it's important to point out what we don't handle individually eventually affects us corporately.
That's right.
So as we enter into these relationships or marriages and we feel like I'm just doing me, I'm gonna be all right if this person, because nowadays we've taken the approach that whomever we come across and come in contact with, if you can't handle me, then someone else will.
Yeah.
So in other words, if you don't deal with the sight of the blood and the wounds and the cuts, somebody over there going to ignore it. But it's still dysfunction. Whether someone picks up the tab or not, it's still you walking around undone. And so we have to take a more proactive approach to because we all know when we have these extreme funky ways about us. And it's so bad. I was talking to one of my friends in Nashville, my boy Keith, yesterday, and he was talking about energy. He was talking about his relationship problems that he was having meeting women. And I said, well, what's the problem, man? He said, It's the energy is off. And he said a lot of women out here are, from his perspective, he was just saying, it's either this, or they like on to the next. And so, and he said the energy, you calling them, you're trying to date them, then it's like a ghosting. You don't hear from them. If you say the wrong thing, they mad.
Right.
So it's like the texts are shorter each day. It's just like, all of this foolishness. Like, we are grown adults. And so if you don't like something, say something, but don't hold a whole bag of nails because you want the person to feel it. Because whether you realize it or not, that silence is even louder than you fussing and yelling. The silence speaks volumes when people are silent and mean, all that kind of stuff. It's obvious anyway to someone that's wise, and can see it. But
you expect me to know it because I just read your mind. And now I know by osmosis what's going on. No, it doesn't work like that. The first thing I said to my wife when we first started dating was, I do not read minds. If you don't tell me out of your mouth what's going on, I will not know.
And sometimes people don't. Here's another disclaimer. Sometimes people don't know when they are triggering you. Like, let's just say most people come into relationships and they'll maybe tell you about their last one, or if the person is divorced, they may mention the husband, but that's about it. But there's a host of other things that played into this person being who they are. And so sometimes this is why, if you being the other person know that you see the man or woman in front of you as something you want to be serious and take serious, then that's when you have to talk about those triggers and be like, hey, this happened and it was really bad time in my life. Now, granted, I know it takes trust because some folks will exploit it. It's just the facts of life. But we all know, if you still, at the end of the day, whether you are afraid to talk about it or not, we all know that if you don't run the risk of love, you won't enjoy the reward of it. So you have to risk it to get it. Either way you look at it, because it's like keeping it to yourself doesn't solve anything. So if you have something that happened to you or continually happened in the past, or it puts you in a bad headspace, that person doesn't have mind osmosis and doesn't understand it if you don't bring it to life. Whatever this thing was, and let's just be straight. Give me a little more than someone cheated. It's more to it than that, right? It's so much more to it than because the men lie or the women lie. I mean, it's deeper than that. So let's talk about it, because it's not just, and 9 times out of 10, if someone is dealing with infidelity, like I told you, like I said last week, 9 times out of 10, if we're talking victim, you have met Vic before you met Tim, right? You just when you talk to Vic, you didn't believe that he had a cousin and that they like to hang out. So, but you just listened to Vic and saw what you wanted to see without seeing the whole picture. And so, granted, some of us don't take L's well, right? We don't take L's well. We will fight you tooth and nail, shred you on the internet, whatever it takes to not lose to you not being with me. So some of us need to grow up, right? Grow up and say, listen, I'm not going to pout like no big kid, a man or woman. I'm going to be a grown adult and handle the relationship responsibly. This is where I struggle, person X. This is what triggers me. This is usually, from my perspective and going through counseling, these are the behaviors that best compliment me. Is that something in your wheelhouse? Go from there. But not just this whole somebody just going to magically understand and just get you to the point where they know the glass not to step on in order not to piss you off. I mean, come on.
You should just know that by now. You should know that by now. That's something we've been together long enough to know. No, that doesn't work. I don't. Like that. Either you say what it is, or I will never know. You know. And again, let me just say this one more time. I think it's important for those of us that are in relationships, we create a safe space for the other person to be able to share without fear of reprisal. Because often what happens is we hold on to this stuff. We hold on to it to the point, to our own detriment, to the point where the other person doesn't know what's going on, and we'll never know what's going on because we haven't opened up our mouths to say what the real issue is. So until you actually want some real progress, some real healing to happen, some real elevation to happen in your relationship, open up your mouth and say what it is.
And listen, last but not least, learn to respect no.
Yeah, that's a good
Learn
one.
to respect a person's no, because respecting a person's no can in some cases keep you from devastation later.
Absolutely.
When a person is trying to tell you something, sometimes they're telling you something because they're trying to keep from telling you something behind the something. So sometimes take that no without digging and digging and digging, because if you continue to push a person that's telling you no, trust me, you're going somewhere you don't want to experience. So it's just like, let folks be. Stop trying to control folks. We're not children. You know, we're not no one's daughter, sons. People aren't going to always conform and comply to the way you see life. That's why commonality is so important, and understanding one another and being on one accord and one page. Because you know, we can't do anything unless we are functioning as one, believing as one. Then we can move. Aside from that, it's chaos. You know?
Total chaos. You better use that word no. That's the best word ever.
No. Learn to respect folks. No, it don't mean is when people are saying no. I can tell you honestly, and I used to be the king of evasion. If I was evading, I'm evading for a reason. I'm not evading for nothing. There's a reason. I have a rhyme to my reason. But people don't like no, or don't like if they're going to push you until they get some sort of resolve. And that's the worst thing to do sometimes. Let folks be. And if it, whatever that is, work for you, fine. If it doesn't, then live to see another day elsewhere. That's all you can do.
I'm going to say no one time. I'm going to say no one time, and I'm going to walk away. If you come back at it with me again, guess what? You get what you get.
That's it. That's it. I'm telling you, man. Man, so we're at our hour. I'm trying to stay honest.
Yeah,
we get into our mode, but we stay honest. We appreciate y'all again tuning in and listening to us. We've been slow to getting back to this, so we're trying to slowly ramp our wheels into talking about this stuff. We enjoy it. We've been doing it for a minute now, and it's just something that kind of comes natural. But we're gonna switch up some things, do some things differently, a little creative as we move along. But we do appreciate you guys for tuning in to the conversation room today.
We got some things
for sure.
Definitely.
For sure.
Keep watching.
And keep watching, and so we will more than likely see you guys next week, same time, same channel. There may be some off shows happening here and there too, but just keep out for those notifications, and we'll go from there.
Yeah.
All right. All minds clear, sir? You good?
All minds clear, man. This was good. This was good.
Yeah. In short, control yourselves. Jesus. Bye. All right. Take care. Bye. All right. Take care.